This one's out of Dallas, Texas, and our defender here is working on a client's, renovation. And watch this guy who has kind of lurked around for a while and waited for him to get back to his truck. And when he hasn't done that because he's been working, dude comes up, he's got his hand stuck inside of his jacket and showed him a gun and said, "Give me your wallet, your keys, your cell phone." And the guy's like, "Dude, it's all out in my truck. I don't have any. And hey, man, you're being video recorded here." And then our defender's just going to step inside the house, close the door and lock it, and that makes our dumb guy run off. You see it here from kind of the ring camera from the really second floor, and you're gonna see them just jaw at each other. Our defender's truck is over way on the left there, and then he's gonna say, "Hey man, it's over in the car," and then get behind a safe space, and that makes our bad guy run off. So no harm, no foul here.
Lucky Gunner is my recommended trusted provider of freedom seeds for range or defensive use. In-stock, good prices, and rocket-fast shipping are why I go back again and again. Because of new guidelines, I can't link their site or say it, but you're smart, and you can find it with a simple Google search. Stick it to the man by paying them a visit today.
Oh man, first big lesson here, Neil. His gun was in his truck, and he said it was in the truck because he was in and out of his client's house, and so he wasn't carrying his gun. Man, a gun left in the truck may as well be in Narnia. It may as well be back behind the wardrobe. It is useless to you. And this is a great example of that. I can't believe how many times we have to say this. Carry your stinking gun.
Yeah, that's the first lesson here, and I don't want to throw too much shade at this guy because he handled it okay, and there was nobody was hurt in any of this. However, if you're going to call yourself a self-defender, if you're going to have a CCW and tell people that that's who you are, this is what's going to happen to you on the day that you don't carry your gun. And it sounds like this is in Dallas, Texas, so I don't know that there's any laws or anything about carrying in other people's property or anything along those lines, but if you're going to carry a gun, carry the doggone thing just so you have it when you need it. Because if he had needed it, if we'd had a little bit brighter of a bad guy here and you needed that thing, you're not going to run to the pick. You're not going to say, "Hey, hold on a second, let me run grab this." That's not going to happen. You've got opportunity right now to use it if you're going to use it. And when it's 30 yards away, nobody's got that fast of a draw.
Nobody has that fast of a draw. And I get it. He's wearing a construction belt. And so people are going to be like, "Man, but it's so hard because how are you going to carry the gun? And it's going to get messed up and, it's going to be painful or whatever." Maybe, but a good holster and belt combo can make a world of difference. A Filster Enigma and a smaller gun, something like a little CC9, an HK CC9 inside of an Enigma, you'd be surprised what you can get away with, man. And we talk about that in their concealment group all the time. There's a link in the description to that and over on Active Self-Protection Extra. I think in 2025 and beyond, carry your gun. There's so many creative ways to do so. Having it on your person is really wise. Now, the dude is going to come up here and come right next to our defender who has a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. And I just want to say this. Listen, as a 2-stripe white belt, all right, in jiu-jitsu, we've got a 2nd degree black and a striking art, but as a 2-stripe white belt, a purple belt in jiu-jitsu is a literal god on the street. I mean that. Especially the fact that he's bigger than this guy and he's that skilled. I wonder why he just chose not to engage the guy physically, because if he'd have just grabbed this dude up and strangled him, he'd have been totally justified to do so. And I think he had a good opportunity here, Neil.
He had a great opportunity here. Now, the reason that he may not have done this, and I wasn't on the podcast with him, but the other thing I know about like the purple belts and those kind of folks is they've got a lot of confidence. And so just his attitude of, "Hey, I'm here if this kid points the gun at me." So maybe he just didn't feel threatened enough that he felt like he had to go hands-on this guy. But for the rest of us, if somebody walks up to you and gives you that opportunity and gets inside your bubble to where you can pin the gun to him, he's got that gun kind of in a cross draw kind of a place in his body. There is no power there. If you put your hand on that guy's wrist and then take him to the ground and lay on top of him, he can't hurt you with that gun. And you can dominate this guy. And if you're bigger than he is and stronger than he is, dominating this guy is really a piece of cake. And I think maybe, again, I can't speak for our good guy here, but I think maybe he just had the attitude of, this isn't really that big a threat to me at this moment, so I don't have to go hands-on because I know if I do, I can take this guy in a heartbeat. But again, you've paid for all of those lessons. You've rolled so many times. You've done all of this work so that in the moment that you need it, you've got it. And this is the moment that it would have been justified and you could have used it.
I really think that's insightful, that sometimes that high level of skill allows people to do things that those of more moderate or low skill levels just could never do. And maybe that's the case here. And he didn't feel threatened at that point. So, all right, fine. But recognize we do the training for a reason. And so sometimes saying that and going, no, we're going to stop that in a hurry is maybe the wiser choice. I'm not second guessing him here. He won. He got out of the danger zone. Great. Lovely, fine, all right? Success is a heck of a deodorant. Simple as that. But I'm going to tell you, as a guy's a purple belt, he could snap that guy's arm in nothing flat, and certainly have been justified to do so. The guy's threatening him with a gun. Now, instead, our defender then points at the camera and says, dude, you're being recorded here. But I do want to note, guy's got a mask on and his hood up. There's no chance that is going to do anything in terms of identifying him, and he knows that. That's why he has disguised himself, which maybe, with the sun shining and all that, might have been a clue who we were dealing with earlier. The fact that he had a hood on and a mask on. Friends, it's 2025. The pandemic is long over. There is no reason for anybody to be doing this. Of course, our defender was working, so it's not like he was just standing there watching. But man, I don't know that this was a great idea, even though it worked.
Yeah, that's the thing. It really is, context is the key in this, and it really depends on who it is and who you are in that moment. But there's so many clues here. The mask, you're in Dallas, Texas in the summertime, which I'm told is not that cool. So wearing a winter coat with the hood up and a mask on means you're trying to hide your identity from any cameras, and it's going to work. They're not going to find this guy unless there's absolutely somebody that knows him that narcs him off. But the reality is there are so many clues here that something's going on, and if you've got the skill and the ability to take care of it, and so he can't do this to somebody else. And again, it's not your job to protect the neighbor 3 weeks down the road and all of that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm saying. But you did all of this work for what? And so if you did it to protect yourself and your loved ones, then use the skills that you've got when you have the opportunity. And he had great opportunity here. And again, if this is the purple belt that I know, his attitude is going to be, well, I can take this guy in just a heartbeat. So I'm not going to press this if I absolutely don't have to. And having been in some scenarios where I'm like, man, if I have to pull my gun, I've got more time because I know what my speed and my accuracy and all of my math calculus is. I can wait a little bit longer to make a better decision. So I think that I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt there. I think that's what he's doing. He's doing the calculus in his head of at what point do I need to jump? And he decided that it never got to that point. From my perspective, if this is a 70-year-old woman that the guy walks up to and she turns around and says, this is on camera, that's really all she's got. But our good guy here had a whole lot more in his toolbox. No pun intended, that he could have really taken care of this and saved everybody a lot of heartbreak down the road.
Yeah, I really think it's an interesting thought exercise to think, okay, guys are high-level skilled folks, and I know there's a ton of black belts out there in jiu-jitsu, and they're going to be like, well, purple belt's not all that. I'm talking about in the real world. A purple belt is a literal god on the street, okay? And maybe that because of all that, he just doesn't feel threatened. And I'm still okay, and I have plenty of margins, and so I don't have to push things in order to get into the physical altercation. Because, of course, if you do end up engaging the guy physically, there is a chance he can get that gun out and around on you. And so it is a non-zero risk. Of course, it's a non-zero risk to do nothing, especially when you've literally got him right here where you could just reach out and hug the guy. Like, okay, he's literally got his arms out where he's almost got his arms around him. And clearly our defender has some muscles. He's clearly a guy who works out, who looks like he eats well and is interested in his physical well-being. So maybe, again, he's got all that as just a margin for success. And he uses that margin for success to then get behind a locked door. He says he goes in the house, closes and locks the door. I like that decision, in fact. Okay, I'm just going to break contact with this guy. Remember, your mission as a private citizen at the end of things is to stop the deadly threat. And one of the best ways to stop a deadly threat is simply to break contact with it where it can't contact you anymore. And so from that perspective, I think this was a very wise decision.
It's a huge win all the way around. I mean, we can nitpick, and that's all we're doing is really nitpicking at this guy because he's a purple belt, right? And I have rolled with a purple belt before, and he made me. I mean, he folded my clothes while I was still wearing them, and I'm a pretty good-sized guy. So I'm only just nitpicking at this guy just simply because of the skill level that he had. But the decision that he made to walk through the door and close the door and break that contact was amazing, and that was the right thing to do. And I think potentially his size and his attitude is what made our bad guy pause and let him break contact. If our good guy had been a smaller person, an elderly person, a smaller female, something along those lines, maybe our bad guy would have, asserted themselves even more. But he had the advantage from the very get-go of all of this stuff. But the disadvantage that he had is that he didn't see it coming. So there was the ambush there, and that's not a slight on him. None of us are ever going to see it coming. That's what the bad guys do. They ambush us. That's why we call it that. But it's the reaction that we make in the moment, and giving ourselves time and to consider our options. When he considered the option of, hey, I'm going to step through this door and lock it, man, what a great one. I loved watching that.
I really think that's the big lesson here, okay? That a success is a success, and I'm totally down with that. And also the path that he chose, if he'd have drawn his own gun and shot the guy, well, cool. I certainly think it would have been justified given the fact that he threatened him with a gun. But guess what? Now the rest of his day is ruined, and he's going to hire attorneys and do all that stuff because he's used deadly force. Instead, here he sent it to me and appears on the podcast, and he called the cops. But I don't even need an attorney at this point because I didn't use any kind of force whatsoever. So this was a very simple way, and a person of a very high level of skill might be able to get away with that kind of deference and unwillingness to, willingness to just say, it's okay. So at the end of the day, even though, we're nitpicking, I want you to recognize that, hey, wait a minute, what level of skill do I have? And let me know in the comments, what do you think at your level of skill would have been the best thing to do here? And at your level of who you are as a person, because I think his person and his level of skill let him get away with this and cover his asp.